Okay. Hi, writers. Thanks so much. All right, so we are going to continue to think about our argument writing, but let's revisit something we did a whole month ago. We did this during narrative writing, and we learned about a very specific punctuation move that we could use in our narrative writing to cause like a pause for our readers, where our text is just moving along, the readers are reading along, and then we want to give them a visual pause and insert more information or have like an interruption of dialogue. Well, now we're in argument writing, and that exact same chart is effective for what we're doing right now. So I'm going to go back through our charts, right, and find that chart that we created together. Colleagues, just like Jen did yesterday with students right in that moment, naming not the rules, but the guidelines or the tools. Roy Peter Clark names it a tool or a toolbox. Jen, what did you name it yesterday? Guidelines, that's right. So what we're trying to give you as an experience today is the fact that, oh yeah, that guideline that we experienced in a previous lesson is going to come back in a different text type, in a different unit. This is something we created before, but let's look at that, all right? And it might have been tucked away, and I brought it out knowing that I was going to revisit that today. Still a mini lesson, different unit. Okay, writers, so we together, after we learned about this punctuation piece, a dash, we learned together that writers sometimes use a dash to indicate a pause, often before and after extra information. And we remember that that dash isn't a hyphen because it's longer or shorter? Longer, right? I mean, hyphen is to hyphenate two words. A dash is a longer piece. One of us in the class had a really cool analogy to a dash. Jenny, do you remember what you... An extreme comma, that's what we said. Yeah, remember that. Thank you. We called it an extreme comma. It's really setting it apart. We want our readers to pause. So sometimes it's extra information. In our narrative unit, it was to indicate an interruption, like when someone's dialogue was cut off by another speaker. And that's what we focused on. That's what we tried in our narrative writing. We were doing a lot of dialogue. Well, today, in our argument writing, I want us to think about the fact that we're making choices about how this writing is structured. Just like yesterday, when we thought, how could that go? Could it go block, claim, and then evidence, evidence, commentary, commentary? Or could it go claim, evidence, commentary, evidence, commentary? Choices, options, all about what is going to help promote our idea the strongest for our reader. So, there's another way you can insert evidence that's really pretty easy when you just have one tiny bit of evidence you want to put in. Where you don't need to have an entire piece around the evidence and then commentary. You just want to slide something in, kind of in a sneaky way for your readers to be able to say, hey, and this too, and then keep going. So let's see if that works for our argument writing today. Let's mentor ourselves underneath other writers of argument. Yesterday we looked at students who are our age who are doing this work. Today let's look at some published op-ed writers. So go to the link for today in our bit.ly. Go to Article 1, please. And we see an article. You are close to your partner, so you're able to read together. And this article is titled Battling the Ivory Trade. This is pretty provocative. We know op-eds are. So as you read through this, you need to read just with your partner. We'll put some silence in the room and just get the content of this short op-ed. Just get the content first. Then we'll look again with our focus today and think about how this author might have used a dash. Go ahead and read. Readers, let's come back together. Kind of heavy, right? For me, I'm just going to think aloud right now in this example. In the next article, you're going to do this work with your partner. But let me just think aloud for a moment. First, I have a reaction to this because I didn't even realize, and I feel almost guilty about that, but I didn't realize that ivory trade was still a thing. Are you there with me? Or are you more with it? And that's probably true. This is like stuff of the past, right? It's abhorrent. I just can't even fathom. This is now. This is when? When was this published? Oh, this week. This is now. So I'm taken aback, and I'm really glad for argument writing, because this is the work we're doing. Your ideas are strong and important, and you're promoting them in this unit right now, just like professional authors of, I think it's called polemics, right? When it's just argument, there's a fancy word for it. So this op-ed writer, Eleanor Randolph, writes many op-eds, and she has this opportunity to be a voice for the things that are wrong in the world. And then everyone can be notified if we're readers for our whole life. Huge. I mean, that really makes me feel like this is important work we're doing right now. We are just like this author. And then I see the dashes. All right, so you knew I'd go there, right? So there it is, second paragraph. I want to read that sentence out loud and think about what she did. Think about, okay, it's probably not the quote in dialogue. I mean, that can happen in argument for sure. That's important evidence. And we know that it's probably about that extra information because Mrs. Brown said it was going to be about extra information. Let's see. Let's just see if this is what she did, if this actual writer, Okay. If it works as intended, the flow of ivory into New York, often ranked the #1 importer of ivory in the United States, should soon slow to virtually nothing. Did you see how I almost tried to do that extreme comma like Jenny named for us and that we remember? Okay, so if it works as intended, the flow of ivory into New York, often ranked the #1 importer of ivory in the United States. Oh, that's describing New York. New York, the #1 importer of ivory in the United States. This is a United States thing? This writer is working for me as a reader. I'm glad she inserted that. That's important information, but she didn't need to go into a lot of information as and by the way, New York is one of the, the #1 import, We didn't need that as readers. We just needed a little bit of information, a little bit of evidence to continue to support our thinking as we move through her writing. She has a certain way she wants us to think as we move through this, doesn't she? All right, so that was extra information. It was a little bit, and then after the dash is important as well. I'm going to take the dash out and just read it without the information. If it works as intended, the flow of ivory into New York should soon slow to virtually nothing. That might be something we could add. We could add it as a post-it here or grow our chart, that the dash that's offsetting that important information is not necessary for the sentence to be correct, but it is important to the writer because of content. Could that be something we added? I didn't even think about that until I was thinking right now. Okay, but wow, that was important information within that dash, within those dashes. So let's look at the next article. It's your turn. With your partner, please, writers, examine this text with me. It's the same author. So I did that on purpose because authors have certain tools that they use and they use often. And I found another op-ed that this author wrote, and guess what? You're going to find some dashes. So in your partnership right now, we're just going to spend a few minutes, read the article first, find the dashes, talk with your partner about why the author might have chosen to insert that extra bit of information with the dash, and go ahead and have that conversation. It's a different author? Oh, my bad. I had another one by her, and I chose not to use it then. Thank you. You're thinking, is that right, the link? Okay. So you're in Article 2. You're spending the time to to read, and then you're going to talk with your partner as soon as both of you have finished reading. Writers, you're trying this right now. We're about ready to head off, but chat with your partner. Tell them where you're thinking you might want to try this dash to include a little bit more information. Feel free to be creative about that. Our op-ed authors were creative. Sometimes they added provocative information. Sometimes they were really trying to convince you. So writers, you've tried this a little bit, but you're ready to get back into your writing right now. So, writers, we've been thinking about our argument writing, and we know now there are many choices we have. We're 8th graders. This isn't about having to follow one specific way. We know this writing. We've been doing opinion and argument writing for a while. Here we are. We can use many different choices. And who knew? Something as simple as a dash could really add some art and some flair to our writing to just insert a little bit of extra information where we don't have to get so involved with whole evidence commentary. So today, supporting the choices you made yesterday, go ahead and head back, and maybe you'll add another dash into your writing, but you are going to continue to be drafting in your argument writing. I'll be coming around and conferring. So writers, as you head off, use this tool just like all the choices we have as writers of argument. Head on off.